Namaste. Welcome to Dharma Tales. Let's debate. Even if you are the greatest warrior, how does Dharma settle scores when, out of arrogance or a sense of superiority, you do wrong to someone? Dharma does have a strange way of chasing you literally to death, even if the person whom you had humiliated is long dead and gone. In this episode, we are going to look at a very interesting person who literally is the one who caused the fall of Kauravas in one way. I don't know whether to call him a man or a woman. Depends on how you see the story. We are going to look at the story of Shikandi, or rather, a person who was actually named as Shikandini when she was born. It is said that in one of her previous births, she was one of the three daughters of the king of Kasi. Her name was Amba. Her other two sisters were Ambika and Ambalika. Kashiraj decides to give away his daughters in marriage and arranges for a Shivamvar. And for whatever reason, he does not deliberately invite Vichitravirya, the king of Hastinapur. And this infuriates Bhishma. So, as the Swayamvar is taking place, Bhishma storms the kingdom of Kashiraj and abducts all his three daughters and takes them away to be married to the king of Hastinapur, who is Vichitravirya. But it so happens that Ambika and Ambalika happily agree to get married, whereas Amba, she tells Bhishma that she is already in love with another king and she would like to get married to him. And Bhishma, accepting her decision, sends her back to the king with whom she was in love. But it so happens that when she goes there, the king with whom she was in love with denounces her, saying that she doesn't want to touch and get married to someone who has been abducted by another king. And she comes back to Bhishma saying that because of you I was abducted, otherwise I would have been married to this king. Now, being a Kshatriya, it is your duty for you to marry me. And of course, Bhishma gives a very clear reason that I have already taken a promise, an oath that I'll never marry in my life. I will not break that. Of course, there is a long argument which happens between Bhishma and Amba, where Amba says that it doesn't matter what you have promised, but you are the one who stopped my wedding. And it is Kshatriya's duty that the person who stops the wedding must marry me. Goes on, and Bhishma is very staunch. He says, I will not do it. And it so happens finally that Amba leaves the kingdom of Hastinapur in fury. She goes to every possible king in the world and asks for justice. Everyone refuses, knowing well that fighting Bhishma or asking him for justice is as good as writing their name in a death warrant. So they very clearly say that we will not do. And then finally she goes and meets a few rishis in a forest. And there she learns the power of penance meditation. She does very serious meditation and then she pleases the gods who appear. There are various versions as to who gave the boon. In one of the stories, it is said that Lord Shiva himself comes and gives the boon. She asks for a boon to kill Bhishma, and she is given at the end of the penance a lotus garland, which anyone who wears will be the person who would be the cause of the death of Bhishma. Being a female that she was, it was not possible for her to go and fight because that garland which was given by the gods would only work if you are a Kshatriya and a male. And then again she goes after kings and nobody agrees to fight, though they know that it is a possibility. And finally she goes to the king of Drupad and he also says no. In utter disgust, she puts the garland in the one of the doors to the entrance of the city and goes and self-immolates herself and dies. It is said that she has taken multiple births before she finally is born as the daughter of Drupad himself, who had finally said no to her proposal of killing Bhishma. And when she is born, she is named as Shikandini. But when she was quite young, 4, 5, 6 years old, one day Drupada is surprised to find that she has located one garland from somewhere. Drupada is aware of the story, and when he finds the garland on the neck of his daughter, he is confused because this garland will not sit on the neck of any female. It might even destroy them. And in a way, he was shocked to find that his own daughter has actually taken the garland in his wearing. And then he asked some of the rishis and sages about this. And using their jnana drishti, they're able to find the past of Shikandini and says that she is the one who was actually born, but in this current form, she will not be able to do. And finally, it so happens that Drupada is confused as to what to do, but Shikandini just grows up and she starts dressing up like a male and things like that. And in one of the days, actually, without telling the fact, he gets Shikandini married off to another lady, the princess of another kingdom. And after the marriage, they find out that it's actually not a he but a she, and that the father, the prince's father, who was married to Shikandini, is enraged. He comes after Drupad and he is about to destroy the kingdom, and that's when Shikandini, it is said, that runs away to the forest. And there, Shikandini meets the assistant of Lord Kubera, the god of wealth. And it is said that he, in some way, he is able to transfer his manliness onto Shikandini, and he himself becomes a female. And now Shikandini becomes Shikandi, and Shikandi now comes back and lives the life of a man with his princess who was married to, and she is happy. And now Drupada understands that Shikandini has gone through a transformation and that he actually now Shikandini has become a man. So Drupada puts her through all the warfare techniques and teaches her whatever is needed. And all this is being watched by Lord Krishna. And at the time of the war, and of course, she seems to have, rather Shikandi, he seems to have the ability to recall the past of his life as to why he was born and what he is supposed to do. So he has a single purpose of actually killing of Bhishma. He's waiting for the right time. And it so happens that finally the war starts. And Bhishma is also aware of the entire story about the background of Shikandi. It so happens that on all the days Shikandi is being teased by all other warriors, and somehow Shikandi gets to survive all this. And on the 10th day, the day on which it was decided that it was either Bhishma or the Pandavas who would survive the end of the day, that is when Lord Krishna actually brings Shikandi to the fore. Even prior to that, Shikandi is now being cornered by so many people, and somehow the Pandavas, with the help of advice of Lord Krishna, they are able to save Shikandi. And for the first time, Lord Krishna puts literally two warriors in one chariot. Shikandi, it is said, that stands in front of Arjun like a sort of a shield, and they go in front of Bhishma and start fighting. And Shikandi keeps on teasing Bhishma. Shikandi knows the past and Bhishma knows the past. And as Arjun was hiding behind Bhishma with all the same power and astras that his own grandfather has, great grandfather has, he is able to fight, and Bhishma is not able to do anything. When he is being questioned by Kauravas as to why you are not shooting an arrow, he says that Shikandi is a female from the past life. And Kauravas say it doesn't matter. Right now he is a warrior. He is a male. He's fighting you. Go ahead and finish him off. He says that I will not be able to do, knowing who she is. And Bhishma also knows, looking at the garland in the neck of Shikandi, that the time of death is nearing. Though he himself can choose the time of death, he knows that the vehicle has arrived. And finally, it so happens that Arjuna, with Shikandi as the shield, continues to pump arrows after arrows after arrows, and then finally Bhishma falls to the ground. And that's how the story ends as far as the death of Bhishma and the curse that Bhishma carried by what he did to Amba in the past life comes to an end. A very interesting, very powerful story which shares how even one single mistake, Bhishma in his younger days maybe felt that once he abducted, being a Kshatriya, the females will abide by what he has done. And Amba seemed to have her own way of thinking and own way of doing things, and which became finally the undoing of Bhishma himself. Very powerful story, very interesting story, very intriguing story. In spite of his life being at stake, was Bhishma sensible enough not to shoot an arrow, knowing well that the current form of the person standing in front of him is that of a male? The same happens to all of us. We don't know what we were in our past lives. We don't know what we are carrying through. We might have been a male, we might have been a female, we might have been a different species. But was it a curse that Bhishma carried that he knew the past of Shikandi? Or was destiny choosing a path to liberate him which Ganga herself could not do? There are several interesting questions and perspectives which comes up in our mind when we listen to such a story. Take to the comment section and then share all your perspectives and ideas and thoughts on what you think are the learning about Dharma from this story of Shikandi, the person who was born to kill Bhishma. Dharma Tales, let's debate. Till we meet again, this is Prakash signing off.